Well, what's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Can you believe it? We are here going to be talking about the premiere of Survivor Season 32, Brawn Beauty, Kaoh, Rong. I'm glad I got that right because I was thinking of saying second chance. So, wow, what a crazy 90-minute premiere. We have a ton to talk about. Like, it said it was going to be the most grueling 39 days in history. Like, it was so hot out there, it seemed. And all of these people are just so likable. Like, I am super excited for this season. So, my name is Rachel.
And I'm Alyssa. And before we say anything else, we just gotta say we're super excited that Survivor is back because we love having new material to talk about for you guys, and we love watching it, and we love seeing how everything evolves. And we love Survivor.
Yeah, it's so crazy that we've been like doing those cast assessments for the past few weeks and now we can actually like see it playing out.
Some of the things we said in our cast assessment weren't actually all that accurate. So if you have stuff you want to yell about that we got totally wrong in our cast assessment, feel free to leave us a comment. Because even if you're yelling, it's okay. To each their own. So, um, do you want to start talking about the Brawn Tribe?
Yeah, so the way that we're going to be structuring this podcast episode, we're going to just go through Brawn and then Brain and then Beauty and just talk about sort of like the tribe dynamics and everything that we've seen. And then we'll go through chronological of the episode of the premiere. So I guess starting with the Brawn Tribe, what do you think about Scott saying that he is in the NBA and not lying about his ex-job?
I mean, I think it's good for him because if he were to tell them a fake job and then he were to decide to tell them the truth later, that would be like a black mark against him. Just because you need to tell the truth in Survivor as much as possible about the things that don't matter so that when you get to the things that do matter, people aren't going to be like, oh, well, he's a liar, so we shouldn't pay attention to him.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that it's good that Scott like didn't lie about the NBA thing because he totally looks like an NBA player. He is like a freaking giant, and his laugh is sort of scary. It was like so low and like,
I
but
feel like he would get like, "Are you a basketball player?" jokes just because of how tall he is. And I feel like if you went like 39 days with people being like, "Are you a basketball player? Haha, you're so tall." Eventually you would just be like, "Yes, I used to play in the NBA. Can we stop making jokes about this?"
yeah, like I think with his stature, it'd be hard to like keep lying about it because like someone like Jim Rice or like Tony, they could like get away with it. But like Gary from Guatemala, like he obviously looks like a football player. So and like people recognized him because he played pro football. So someone might could have recognized Scott to be like a pro basketball player. And then that wouldn't have been good because then like you can't lie in the future because nobody trusts you because you lied about your job.
I think that Scott is kind of like the stereotypical meathead jock. Because, like, he literally could not count to six. Like, you learn that in kindergarten.
Yeah, that was funny. He's like, "Oh, we're on the Brawn Tribe. We don't need like 5 or 6 people are on this tribe." But yeah, so I guess like Kyle Jason, do you like what how did he start going by Jason? Like I don't think Probst just gave him the name of Jason to give him like that last name status already when he's got 2 first names. I feel like did he just like want to be called Jason and that's why it's Jason? Because I feel like he doesn't get that last name, first name status thing.
Never trust a man with two first names.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. Maybe they'll mention that, like, later in the season. Or maybe it'll be, like, in his Ponderosa video if he ever goes to Ponderosa, where they'll, like, talk about it. Honestly, I have no idea. Maybe he, like, I assume that he asked for it, because generally if players ask to go by a name that is not their given name, Jeff will be like, sure, why not?
Yeah, and since it's like 2 first names, it's not like Penner or like Cochran or Fishback or Wigglesworth or something that like is like a unique kind of last name to be called a first name. Because
Yeah.
People who aren't like super crazy about the show, they just see, oh, Jason, you know, they wouldn't really go into like the background of what his first name, Kyle Jason or something. Because a lot of people go by like their middle names now.
Yeah. So what do you think of Alecia on the Brain Tribe? Or Brawn Tribe?
Brain. Yeah,
I'm correcting
I feel so bad for Alecia. Like we were saying in our cast assessment, like she's totally a fish out of water on that Brawn Tribe. She's like the skinniest girl out there, the smallest, even on the Brawn Tribe, like compared to those huge buff people. Like she literally obviously doesn't really fit in. I think she would have done better on the Beauty Tribe or something else, at least.
I was reading an article about how a lot of people don't like the Brain Brawn Beauty theme because then people get targeted for something that's not really their fault in the game. It's part of like the mold that the producers force them to fit. Because, like, obviously, Alecia, if the Brain or the Brawn Tribe were just put together randomly and not like called the Brawn Tribe, then Alecia might have more of a fighting chance because she's not like told you must be brawny. So
Yeah, because now she sort of has to like fit in with everyone else who's like professional bodybuilder, basketball player, bounty hunter. Like those are some crazy, like legit, like definition of a brawn thing that you'd look up in a dictionary. And then, so I don't know, Alecia is sort of like doesn't really fit in here. So it'll be interesting. We can talk about it later when we talk about tribal council, but what happens next?
So do you want to move on to the Brain Tribe and we'll talk more about the other Brawn members when we discuss the immunity challenge and stuff?
Yeah, I guess we can before we can talk about Darnell's poop.
Oh, Darnell. I was reading an article by Stephen Fishback, and he said that when they were filming Second Chances, they actually like put a marker on the beach of where you had to go to before you could like poop. Because apparently, like they're encouraged to like defecate in the water because it's more like environmentally friendly. I guess like it's more biodegradable or something.
Yeah, I was seeing that like you have to go past like this certain point on the beach so then you're like not polluting our beach water with your poop.
Yeah. Well, he was only there for 3 days, so he couldn't have done that much polluting.
Oh, maybe that's another reason why they got rid of him.
So, Brain Tribe. I think just the
um,
obvious person to talk about here is Debbie. So, do you want to talk about that?
yeah, I mean, just like when she first, like those first shots of her like on the beach, she was literally like chattering away about like, oh, I'm super great, all my super great accomplishments. You know, I can make fire without flint. I can build an expert shelter, like, and then when she's teaching like Neil how to make the fire, like she can't even do it. Why is she teaching him? Why can't she just do the fire for like that doesn't make sense. Why don't you just do it if you're the expert fire maker without flint, girl?
You know how she was talking about how there had to be a pole in the bamboo? You're
The
supposed to make
whole
that before you start working on it. Like, it's not made in the process. So that might be where they had some trouble with that fire there. But I feel like none of the like preseason stuff that I saw from Debbie indicated that she would be that much of a chatterbox. Like I thought that she was just someone with a lot of like worldly experience and not someone who was like, I'm so great.
Yeah, that's something that we were talking about in our cast assessment that'll like be her downfall if she like keeps talking about these million jobs she's had. And even like the producers are making fun of it because every time, have you noticed, like every time when she has a confessional, her job gets changed. So like Caleb says like army veteran and like Liz is like strategic quantitative strategist. But then Debbie was like chemist and then waitress and then all these different things.
I did not notice that. I'm gonna have to watch it again so I can see.
Oh my God, yeah, it's so crazy. Where's like is she the new Philip? I mean, where's her tiger suit?
FBI agent? Question mark. Speaking of
Yeah.
FBI agents, the other like dark horse on the Brain Tribe is Joe, but I don't think he really made that many waves in this first episode.
Yeah, we
Like
didn't We didn't really see much from Joe except that he's in the old tribe.
I think that part of it is they kind of wanted to focus on like one person from each tribe to begin building their narratives. And I think that like between Joe and Debbie, you'd rather see someone who's like, oh, super annoying than someone who's like, oh, they're actually pretty okay. So, and with FBI agents comes the president. So let's talk about Barack Obama / Peter.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really get too much from him this episode either, besides that, like, Debbie calling him out for looking like Obama. And then he's like, I'm fine if, I can cream you all if you want to think I'm like the president. That's totally A-okay with me. But like the most thing from Peter that I got was his alliance, like with the younger sort of folk on the Brain Tribe with Liz and Neil and Aubry. So that sort of young versus old alliance there.
I think that when he was talking to Neil like made a point of telling him not to talk too loudly because sound like carries well over water, and part of me thinks foreshadowing.
Oh, true. I thought that was so cool. Like Neil is so smart, and his pants were OG. Those like ice cream pants, and his like little bow tie was ice cream cones too, and they matched. I was like, oh dang, he knows how to dress.
Yeah. So one more
Um,
brain and then move on to beauty.
yeah, should we do Aubrey's little freak out?
Yes.
So you can go.
No, you can go. You go.
Okay. I guess Aubrey's freak out. I mean, it's not good for her. Like she's sort of making other people feel iffy about having her in her alliance because like if she's freaking out, like I can see she's like hot and everything and like it's a new environment with strangers and then but it's like not good for her game that she's doing this like on like the first 3 days, so people might be like sort of cautious about her now.
Yeah, I feel like you're building up the perception of other people like during the first 3 days, and like if you make a stellar good impression in like the first couple days, then even if you make some questionable decisions, people are going to be like, well, I know that they can be great, but it's a lot harder if you don't make as good of a first impression, just because people are always like, well, is she going to crack again? Is she going to crack again? So I feel like if Debbie gets voted out, then Aubry will probably be on the bottom of the drive, just because like they need Joe because he has more muscle. Like he's old, but he's like muscly.
He's really buffed too. Yeah, I feel like because like first impressions last, like that's what someone's gonna remember most. So like later on, if they're like they have to rely on Aubry or something, or they're like thinking about whether voting Aubry or like Joe out, they might be like Aubrey's freaked out once, maybe, and then she could have freaked out again between that time, and then maybe she might like go crazy before like because like you need a strong person in your alliance. You don't want like wishy-washy or people that cry too much.
Which was why I was so surprised last season that Abby got so far, because she was so wishy-washy. But yeah, the Brain Tribe, I feel like it's a lot stronger than the Brain Tribe from the last Brains Beauty Brawn. Just because that
Yeah.
Brain Tribe was like destined to implode from the beginning.
Yeah, and I feel like I think we need to make like our own like dating thing because Stephen Fishback met Liz on OkCupid. Yeah, oh, I think we gotta sign ourselves up for OkCupid.
Rachel, going after all the boys you can't have.
No,
So
no, no.
then, Beauty. Speaking of boys you can't have, oh, ha, that was a sick burn.
Ty.
Ty, Nick, Caleb. Speaking of Nick, he was like sounding a little bit conceited in the first episode. Like he was like, stuff has definitely been easier for me since I'm attractive, and I'm like, you're not actually that cute.
Yeah, like a lot of his things were saying like I'm better looking than most people, like
Honestly, if on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put him at like a 6. Maybe.
Yeah, I get where he's coming from. He says, you know, because he's like tall and like buff and whatever. And I don't know, maybe like Michelle is we can have like, she might fall for that because in her confessional, she's like, you know, this guy's very good looking. I'm glad we're on the tribe together.
Yeah.
But
what I was surprised about is that they didn't make that big of a deal about the fact that Julia was only 18. Because I feel like that was something that was kind of like not hyped up, but it was something that everyone was definitely noticing preseason, and then they didn't really mention it at all.
yeah, maybe she didn't say 18. She just said Boston U. So maybe, I don't know, like she could be like, you could think she's like 22 and like, you know, undergrad still, or she could have said like in Boston U, and you could be like grad student or something. So then you'd be like older than like 22 or 23 if she didn't say her age like explicitly to them.
Yeah.
Just a college student. But yeah, Julia knowing who Caleb was, I thought that was pretty good, like knowing your people before.
Yeah, know your enemy. I think that like Caleb was actually like a lot better than I was expecting him to be.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
I expected kind of like a raging douchebag, but he wasn't.
I know this is probably going to be like unpopular opinion, but I like Caleb.
I do too. Like,
like
I think that he has like a lot of determination. And he was like, if I gotta stand on my tippy toes for 3 hours, then I gotta stand on my tippy toes for 3 hours. Oh well.
yeah, I know. I'm sad of what is to come of Caleb, but man, I feel like because of like the whole Big Brother and like his crush on Big Brother, it's sort of like how producers are portraying him now, which is like, I don't know, because like in the previews for next week, it's saying a bromance between him and Ty, but obviously there is no like relationship brewing there because Caleb's engaged now. Like, I think producers are just trying to like build up this sort of hype about like another kind of showmance because of his season on Big Brother.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting when people hop from one reality show to another. I feel like he kind of needed to create a different identity on Survivor, and so I hope that they do that a little more.
I know, I really like him. Yeah, I mean, he was cool and like he was like really nice to everyone and like talking with them and like, okay, he was like, why is Ty on Beauty, which is like the only sort of thing, but
The thing is, he was like being honest about it. Like even Ty was like, "Why is Ty on Beauty?"
Yeah, I think anyone who was watching this show, like just watching it, would probably think like, why is this dude on Beauty? So I mean, I guess he was just sort of saying like what every person watching was thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ty was like showing Caleb how to like cut that tree, and then Ty was like, I love all things, you know, because I'm a gardener. I just like love all living things. And then and then the next scene, Ty is like ripping up those trees.
They're
looking
dead
for
trees.
the idol.
He said that they were dead.
But
And
he
like,
still
I
is
missed
like,
that until I watched it through a second time, and he said there are 3 dead trees in the middle of the path, and I was like, oh, that's why he's ripping them up.
it just doesn't make sense. He is like a crazy man running through, like ripping up those trees and then like replanting them, which I'm not sure if that helps. But like, even though if they're dead, when has an idol ever been buried under a tree?
Russell Hands found one that was like
in the hole at the bottom. He didn't rip up the whole tree. Which
it depends how you define under. I don't know. But Ty, like, finding that idol painted, or not finding an idol, but like going to find one, painted a huge target on his back. So I'm kind of worried for him if Beauty loses a challenge. But like, considering the way that Brawn voted, I'm not sure if they'll do all that hot. So.
yeah, like Ty's excuse to leave the group to go searching for the idol. He's like, you know, let me stay back for a bit. And then he like totally gets caught. And then he's like, just give me 5 more minutes and I'll be back. Like, what the heck? Because the 3 girls wanted to like get Tai as their 4th, but then right after that, you know, it was like the 5 of the really good looking people, and then Tai was on the outside of that sort of majority alliance.
Yeah, but we all know how things can change, so maybe next week that'll change some, especially since we didn't see much of the Beauty Tribe after they won the immunity challenge.
Yeah, but Beauty was the first to get fire, so that's really good for them. And I think Michelle isn't as crazy as she seemed in her interviews beforehand about loving Harry Potter that much.
Yeah. So the first major event of the season, I feel like, other than Darnell's poop, was Jenn like getting a bug in her ear, and like Alecia honestly thought it was just like water. And I feel like if someone's like literally bleeding out of their ear,
Yeah, she was like, honey, no, my ear is bleeding. And like, we can talk about it later also, but that sort of like just like painted the picture of why we thought Alecia was going to go home. Like, she kept doing all of these like things, which we can talk about at the end, but literally Jenn's bug in the ear, that was like sort of scary for her and like really disgusting. Like, she was like convulsing on the ground, and it was like crawling in her head, and she can like hear it, you know, eating. Yum yum yum. But like,
I just like when it crawled out of her ear, no one grabbed it. They were just like, look, a bug, and I'm like, grab the thing.
yeah, it's like crazy, like that they wouldn't call in medical, maybe because it's like at the in the middle of the night and it's like dark. But I don't know. Usually, like, wouldn't they call in medical for something?
I feel like if it depends on like the time frame, because like they might like be waiting. I think normally if someone has a medical problem at camp, they wait until after the immunity challenge to address it. Like they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, person, stay behind so we can check out your heart injury thing."
Unless it's like totally like a dire need that they're
If
like
it's like
literally dying.
do or die, yeah, like if people pass out or if they are having like serious pain, like life-threatening pain.
Yeah, so I don't know, Jen's thing, that just shows, you know, these are going to be the most grueling 39 days of Survivor ever. Now, like, everyone going on Survivor is going to, like, I need to bring my earplugs so we don't get bugs
I
in
mean,
my
don't they
ears.
normally wear their things like around their ear, like around their chin, like this?
Yeah, that's why I was confused. Like, Jen's buff was around her ears the whole time. Like, how is the bug going to get out if you're covering half your ear?
True. But Jenn recovered in time for the immunity challenge. That immunity
Yeah.
challenge. Oh.
Yeah, I think it really like sort of tested like the brains and the brawn and I guess the beauty part of like all 3 of the tribes. And like when Jeff was like, okay, strategize about like what you want to do and who wants to do what. And then at first I was like, why the heck would you pick Darnell and Aubry to dive in? Like, they don't seem like the type that would be good at swimming. But then Aubry did really well. I was pleasantly surprised that she went down and did all 4 and got all 4 of those paddles like by herself, and like, but like Beauty switched off to people get paddles, and so did Brawn. So it was interesting. But like then I was like, dang, how well are Aubry and Darnell gonna do at getting these paddles? And Darnell confirmed our belief.
I feel like part of it was in their strategizing thing, Alecia was like, I'm not good at puzzles. And then Sydney was like, you can do this. Like, saying you can do this is not going to make her any better at puzzles. And she had to drop out of the puzzle within like the first like 2 minutes. And I feel like it would have been a lot more efficient use of their time if she had tapped out immediately. Because if she knew she wasn't any good at puzzles, why would you make her do that? Like, I
Yeah.
understand she's not going to be an effective rower, but you could just use the tap out immediately.
Yeah, it was sort of like interesting, right? When they're like, you know, Alecia and Jenn are doing puzzles. Alicia's like, nay, 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 I'm not good at puzzles. But it like that might be sort of seen as like giving up before the fact, maybe. But like, I mean, she can't be like that crappy at puzzles, like, but she sort of just stood there and didn't do anything to help Jenn on the puzzle, which sort of screwed up their team. Like, at least if you tried, maybe like
I
it
feel
would
like
have been
she was
better.
trying to process the puzzle and see like what was happening, but it was changing too fast for her to process because Jenn was working faster.
Yeah,
Like I
so
know for me, I need some time to like see a puzzle and figure it out and start figuring out in my head before I feel confident enough to move stuff. Because especially in a timed puzzle like that where you need to finish as quickly as possible, making one mistake can screw up the entire thing.
yeah, so yeah, interesting. Then she tapped out to Scott, but then by like that time, it was sort of too late. And then like literally the ending was like in seconds. Both of Brawn and Beauty both had their like last piece and they're like fidgeting it, and then Beauty got it in. So then Brawn is going to tribal. So I guess Darnell losing those goggles.
To be fair though, Brains won by like a huge amount. Like, oh my gosh. I was like, I knew that they were going to be good at the puzzle, but I was kind of worried because, like we were talking about, Brains from last Brains Beauty Brawn never got time to get to the puzzle because they were so weak at the physical portion. But like, even though they were like, I think around in the middle after pushing their boat up onto land and stuff. Once they got to that puzzle, it was like boom.
Yeah, they've got like so many smart
Puzzles lay
people.
down for me like lovers.
Yeah, they got like so many smart people and Ivy Leaguers on that team, like literally goals. But yeah, I don't know. Should we move on and just like do like tribal sort of stuff?
Yeah. So it was pretty obvious that there were two people who were the choices to go home, and it was either Darnell or Alecia.
Yeah, like Alyssa and I were texting during the episode, like going into like this, like after the immunity challenge when everyone's like strategizing, and like at tribal, we were like, you know, definitely Alecia is like so going home, because the whole 90-minute episode was like sort of painting that picture of Alecia going home. Like Kyle Jason calls her Blondie and like doesn't even know her real name, and then calls her stupid also. And then like Scott mentioned how like she's just a real estate agent, like compared to all the other buff people on the tribe. Then Sydney's like, I do not like her, to Darnell. And then Alecia says this thing like, maybe it's just water, about the bug. And then she didn't really do that much in the immunity challenge. And then she wrote with the pen cap on. And then she says she's a mental giant. So all of those things sort of were just like, you know, leading it up to see her as the first boot, and then they voted Darnell off.
I was just really upset because like Scott and Kyle Jason were like so set on voting out Alecia, and then as soon as someone else makes another mistake, they decided to change their minds, and it's like, guys, you can't be that wishy-washy. I think that part of it might have been though the fact that Alecia like sort of implied that she had an immunity idol, because when they asked her about it, she was like, I never said I did, I never said I didn't.
Yeah, true. So maybe that's why they did 3-3. But then it's like during the tribal council, like Jenn and Jason and Scott were like sort of chit-chatting to each other, like, I don't know if we're making the right move. You know, they were like, Jenn was like, I don't want to vote Darnell anymore and stuff. So that was like, I don't know, it flip-flopped. But we don't get to see the first vote, so we only know how they voted the second time for
I
the
think that
actual.
people said that Kyle Jason was the one who flipped his vote.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Also, but I feel like I don't understand. I feel like they had to have voted Darnell out for more than just the stupid goggle losing.
And
Because I mean, and the poop. But like, I mean, voting this dude out on the first time, like now how is the Brain Tribe going to like win immunity challenges
Ron,
now? Yeah, how, like I'm concerned about to see how Brawn will do in immunity challenges, because like Darnell seemed strong and like he's definitely stronger than Alecia, so now they're a tribe member down.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried that they're gonna go into a downward spiral where like they're gonna lose another immunity challenge and vote off Alecia, but then by that point their morale is gonna be so low that they don't win any other immunity challenges, or like they'll just tire themselves out. Because you know, when you get to sit someone out, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but when you can have someone who's like fresh for an immunity challenge, it actually is like a big advantage, especially if
Yeah.
you have separate reward and immunities.
Yeah, and I was saying, like, maybe the Brawn Tribe this season will be like the Cagayan of brains, where everyone just goes in that downward spiral and can never recover really until after like a tribe swap. So I feel like Alecia now, like her only hope would be to like never go back to tribal council with the Brawn, or hope for a tribe swap soon, because if they go back, like Alecia would probably be the one to be booted off next off that tribe.
Mm-hmm. So next week, before we do that, prophecy points.
Yeah, I can explain it really quick. So in a few podcasts ago, we did like our fantasy team drafting, and all of that is in the description of there. Alyssa, do you want to say who's on each of our teams real quick? Because I don't have that up.
I don't have that up either.
Do you want to get it up and then I can do the
Yep.
points? So on that episode, it was me and Alyssa, and then Alyssa's sister was like the computer team to make it fair. So we have all of those categories, which are in the down bar of that podcast, where we said like we get points for these different categories, so we can tell you the points that we have so far, and you guys can tell us how many points you have down below. So the computer team, which was Alyssa's sister, has 5 points so far because she got the 5 points for having the most confessionals in the 90-minute premiere. So that's like a one-time point thing. So she has those 5 points. Next, I have 10.5 points right now total, because I got 2 points for Darnell crying at Tribal Council, 3 points for Darnell being the first boot off of the season, plus 5 points because Alecia named the episode. She said, "I'm a mental giant," and that was the name of the episode. And then I got plus 0.5, so a half a point for Darnell's placement points. So these placement points to go up by like 0.5 increments. So the second boot would get plus 1 point. So I have 10.5 points. Alyssa has 8 points total right now because she has 2 points for Aubry crying in the episode, 2 points for Jenn crying in the episode, and plus 4 points for Caleb's hashtag of hashtag beast mode cowboy. So that is 8 points. And nobody gets points for the first boot off of the Brawn Tribe because we all said Alecia would be the first boot. So that's crazy.
Okay, so now that you said all the points, here are the people that are on each of our teams. Rachel's team is Sydney, Neil, Liz, Julia, Darnell, and Alecia. And Rachel's team only has 5 people now since Darnell was voted off. My fantasy team is Anna, Joe, Jennifer, Nick, Aubry, and Caleb. And the computer team / my sister's fantasy team is Debbie, Peter, Kyle, Ty, Scott, and Michelle.
Yeah,
So
those are our 16 peeps. No, what is it? 18. 17 now, but yeah, those are all our people. I'm trying to think of who I want to be the next boot off.
the title of the next episode is Kindergarten Camp. Let that inform your decision.
Oh, dang. Do you want us to go first?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I feel like kindergarten camp is something that, like, one of the older members would say to, like, be, like, sneering down at their younger people. And I feel like the only older person who would actually say something like kindergarten camp would be Debbie. So I'm going to assume that Debbie names the episode. And with that assumption, I'm going to assume that the episode is very brain-centric since Debbie is on the Brains tribe, which means that Brains probably loses because they end up focusing a lot more on the losing tribe when there are 3 tribes. And some of the people on the Brains tribe, I think that Debbie would be voted out because no one really seems to like her. Her only alliance is with Joe, and obviously the numbers do not fall in their favor that way. So Debbie is my answer.
Dang, can I say Debbie also? Because that's legit what I was thinking. Because
we should implement a rule where we're not allowed to say the same person.
Yeah, actually, I think from now on we should probably like message each other who we're gonna say before we podcast, so then there's no doing it right on the spot. So after this one, we can do that. But what you were saying, I really think kindergarten camp, since all the people on Brain Tribes are Ivy Leaguers, are really smart. It's sort of a sort of mean kind of thing, oh, you went to the Ivy League, but you're still as dumb as a kindergartner or something. So I feel that would be something in the Brain Tribe, like you were saying. And between Aubry and Debbie as first boot off their tribe, I feel even though Debbie would be great TV as the next Philip or Coach kind of character, I don't know, she seems she might be too annoying for everyone on the tribe. So I'll say Debbie also.
Kindergarten at some point,
Yeah. So I'll go with Debbie as getting voted off next week, which is watch it probably not even be anywhere close, but we tried.
Does the computer team get a guess or no?
Oh, I guess, yeah. Ask her, I don't know, tomorrow if she's not around now.
Yeah. So we will let you know who the computer team votes for. We'll probably update it in the thingy. You know the word I'm talking about.
The
thing down
down
below.
description, yeah.
Yes, the description. So until next time, we hope that you guys all enjoyed this first episode of Survivor for this season. And please, please comment, like, and subscribe. We love you.
Yes, we are super excited for this season. All of the new material coming out. So exciting. We are so pumped and ready. And thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and commenting. We just love talking about this and talking with you all and just
we love
this
talking, period. We're teenage girls. So yeah, we will see you guys next week, same time, same place. Be awesome.
Goodbye.
Mwah.